Hey everybody, welcome back to another week of confirmation. I I feel like I've got a lot to talk about today. So I'm just gonna jump into it really quick. Last week we left off with Abraham and Sarah and Hagar and talking about how God makes covenants with God's people, how the covenant that God made with Abraham, that everlasting covenant, still belongs to us, and that is our covenant today. Um, and how God hears when we call out to God, God responds. And we're going to jump ahead quite a ways here in terms of the story. So we are going from the middle of Genesis and we are jumping all the way to the beginning of Exodus because we are going to start talking about Moses, and we're going to talk about like the first half of Moses' story. We're going to talk about Moses growing up all the way through everything with Pharaoh. So yeah, big big chunk of stuff today, but I think we can tackle it. Couple questions that I want you to think about as we're reading through and going through all this today. One, what if I can't do what God asks of me? What if I can't do it? And second, why can't God fix all of the injustices and problems that we have in our world today? That's a pretty big question. I don't know if anybody knows the answer to that, but think about that. Let that sit with you as we go through all of this. So, how do we even get? Let's start with how do we even get from Abraham to Moses? So, as we learned at the end of the story, Abraham and Sarah have their son Isaac, and Isaac has um, two sons, Esau and Jacob. Jacob is the one that inherits the covenant. That's another really interesting story. Um, and Jacob then has 12 sons. Um, 12 sons. And Jacob's favorite son, you may know his name as Joseph. Like Joseph and his coat of many colors. That is where that comes from. So Joseph is one of Jacob's 12 sons, and Joseph was sold into slavery um, by his brothers. It's a really good story. I'm kind of disappointed that I'm not covering it in a lesson. But Joseph ends up in Egypt. He rises to power, um, working with Pharaoh, and actually brings a lot of prosperity to the region through the visions that God gives him, and what Joseph does provides for Egypt and all of all of the land. It's a really amazing story. And the Israelites, um, remember how God promised that they would be they would be fruitful and have a lot of offspring? Well, that happens. That promise comes true because they were living a good life. There's a lot of Israelites down there, and a new Pharaoh comes into power, and this Pharaoh, he's not familiar with Joseph. He doesn't understand the special bond of that relationship, and all of the Israelites make him a little nervous. He's really concerned that the Israelites would possibly I don't know, if they got frustrated with Egypt, they'd gang up with one of their, I don't know, rivals in the region, and that would not be good for the Egyptians. So I guess the solution for this pharaoh was to oppress and enslave them. Oh, great idea, Pharaoh. Um, so yeah, the Egyptians enslave all the Israelites. They force them into labor, like build like building great structures and cities. Um, and I guess along with that, along with part of the oppression, because as we've talked about, there's a lot of power in having sons. Sons are very important at this part of the biblical story. Um, the Egyptian Pharaoh says, I don't want any more of these baby Israelite boys. Those are bad news because, if the Israelite women have to marry Egyptians, then that culture kind of dies out. It's really It's a really sneaky tactic. All right, all of those Israelite Hebrew baby boys, if they're born, you got to throw them into the river. Really sad way to start this. So Moses is born, and Moses is born to an Israelite family, but Moses' mother and his sister come up with this really sneaky plan. So they put Moses in a basket and send him down the river. And this is pretty sneaky because you're still putting the Hebrew boy in the river, but he's he's still living and floating along, and he floats all the way down past Pharaoh's palace, where Pharaoh's daughter sees this baby floating by in a basket, and she knows that it must be one of the Hebrew baby boys. And she sees Moses crying in the basket, and she picks him up, and Moses' sister has been watching from a distance, and she runs over there, and she's like, "Oh my goodness, should I find a nurse for this child?" And Pharaoh's daughter is like, "Yeah, sure, please do." And she brings Moses back to his mother, and he is nursed and cared for as a young child by his mother, but also lives in Pharaoh's palace. Yeah, Moses kind of grows up in the palace and is educated among kind of Pharaoh's family because he's like an adopted son of Pharaoh's daughter, but also grew up around his mom and his own family. So he's very familiar with both. So, what happens after that? Well, Moses grows up, and this is like full-grown adult Moses, and one day he leaves the palace and he's walking out sort of among the workers, the working Israelites, and he sees a Egyptian beating and abusing an Israelite man. And this really upsets Moses, I guess, to the point it says that he looked around and he didn't see anybody, and he kills this Egyptian. This is really kind of a crazy story, as I'm kind of just telling it to you off kind of the top of my head a little bit. But yeah, Moses gets so angry seeing this Egyptian guy beat beat up this Israelite that he kills him and buries him in the sand. And he thinks he's good, but word starts to get around, and eventually, like, he hears people chattering about it, and he decides to run away. Moses runs away into the wilderness to kind of start a new life and escape punishment for murdering an Egyptian. And it's his life actually turns out pretty well for him. He finds a wife, he has a child, he is he's a shepherd, he um works with takes the livestock out in the field and cares for them. It's a pretty decent life. But here's time goes by. Moses spends a lot of time out in the wilderness in his new life. And this is what chapter 2 verse 23 says. After a long time, the king of Egypt had died. The Israelites groaned under their slavery and cried out. Out of the slavery, their cry for help rose up to God. God heard their groaning, and God remembered his covenant with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. God looked upon the Israelites, and God took notice of them. So, yeah, a lot of time has passed, and I guess people prayed, they cried out for God to deliver them from their suffering, and God hears this and puts this plan into motion. And before I read this story to you, I got a little help from my wife, Megan, and from Agnes too, to help tell the story of how God came to Moses in the desert. So first, before I explain it to you, please enjoy this small drama. Hi, ma'am. Did you order the half-eaten stale loaf of sourdough bread that we found in the fridge?
Yes, I did. Thank you.
Careful, it's very hot. Enjoy.
I always am. Thanks.
Meg! Meg!
What is this? Is this some kind of joke?
This is not a joke, Meg.
Who who even are you?
I am God.
Yeah, right. Prove it.
Remember last night when you were making dinner
Yes.
and then you knocked the glass off the counter and then blamed the dog?
Okay. Okay. I believe you. What do you want?
I need you to go talk to your bosses. There's somebody at the workplace, in your workplace at the hospital, in the lab, and they keep doing this terrible thing. It's really funny. It's kind of funny, but somebody keeps going and turning off the lights on people in the bathroom when they're just trying to get out of there quick, and you know, somebody's gonna make a mess. Somebody's gonna get hurt, and it's just really gotta stop. And I need your help.
I can't go talk to them. I get really nervous in front of people. My hands get all sweaty and my face gets red.
This is very important.
I really think you should get someone else. The words don't come out right and I stutter a lot.
Okay.
I really don't think I'm the right person for this. People think I'm a dork. I am talking to a loaf of bread after all.
Did I mention I'm God?
Oh, waiter!
Can I help you?
I believe there was a mistake. I think this is somebody else's stale loaf of bread.
I'm sorry, miss, but that's impossible, trust me. You are the only one who has ever ordered a stale loaf of bread from the back of our employee fridge. So I am truly sorry, but that is all yours.
Okay, fine. I'll do it. One question though. Why a loaf of bread?
Well, I was going to speak to you out of the mac and cheese that you made for dinner last night, but I didn't think you'd believe it. Isn't Agnes just such an amazing actor? I think she deserves an Oscar. She was absolutely phenomenal in that skit. So, but let me explain a little bit. That was really goofy. So what actually goes on with Moses in the wilderness here? So, one day Moses is out just kind of taking care of his sheep, minding his own business, and he stumbles upon this burning bush. And God calls out to Moses from this burning bush. And God says to Moses, like, hey, it's time for you to go back to Egypt because I am going to use you to free my people from their slavery and oppression. All right, God. Pretty pretty big task there. Let me read a couple verses for you from chapter 3. This is verses 7 and 8, verses 7, part of 8 and 9, and 9 through part of 11. So, and then the Lord said, I have observed the misery of my people who are in Egypt. I have heard their cry on account of their taskmasters. Indeed, I know their sufferings, and I have come down to deliver them from the Egyptians, and to bring them out of that land to a good and broad land, a land flowing with milk and honey, which is Canaan. This is the land that God promised to Abraham. So then, verse 9, the cry of the Israelites has now come to me, and I have also seen how the Egyptians oppress them. So come, I will send you to Pharaoh to bring my people, the Israelites, out of Egypt. But Moses said to God, Who am I that I should go to Pharaoh and bring the Israelites out of Egypt? So, yeah, Moses too is like, yeah, right. Like, who am I? I'm just kind of this farmer who was run away and started a new life. Like, I'm just a totally normal guy. And God's like, no, I have chosen you. You are going to be able to do this, Moses. I'm going to help you out. And Moses kind of asks, like, okay, well, if I go back, I haven't been back for a while, and I go back to these Israelites and I say, hey, I'm going to free you. I'm going to free you from slavery. I'm going to free you from oppression. Um, and I say, the God of my ancestors has sent me to you. What if they ask what your name is? Like, who should I say has sent me? The God of my ancestors. What is the name of the God of my ancestors? And this is the first time that God has ever told anyone his name. And this is what God says. This is from verse 13 through 15, still in chapter 3. But Moses said to God, if I come to the Israelites and say to them, the God of your ancestors has sent me to you, and they ask me, what is his name? What shall I say to them? God said to Moses, I am who I am. He said further, thus you shall say to the Israelites, I am has sent me to you. So God's name is I am. And you know, it's really interesting to think about. So God God is who God is. I am who I am, and I will be who I will be. But really that just means that God is the one who is present to us. God is there and God is working among us. That's really what that means. I am who I am and I will be who I will be, but I'm here. God's here. So God tells Moses his name. God reveals the divine name. That God is the great I am. And Moses is like, well, cool, but and then tries to make a bunch of excuses to get out of this because I think Moses is a little intimidated by this task, you know. Um, and Moses says, "Well, I'm not really that good of a speaker. Kind of stumble over my words a little bit. Maybe he had a stutter or something. Maybe he's just got, you know, public speaking anxiety, whatever it is." But he's like, "God, I'm really nervous about doing this whole speaking deal and speaking the word of the Lord." And God says, take your brother Aaron. Aaron will help you out, and you two can work together. Aaron will be your prophet and help you speak on my behalf. So, you know, Moses got a buddy out of this. He's not working alone. And that's the big lesson. Moses, while God charges Moses with this, he's not working alone. So, let's keep moving. So, we move to they go back and they tell the Israelites about this. They go to the Israelite elders in the community, and you know, there's a lot of excitement about this. They're like, oh, you know, these guys, they're gonna they're gonna help us out. They're gonna save us from our suffering. And what it really starts off with is Moses and Aaron are gonna go ask Pharaoh if the Israelites can have a couple days off so they can go out into the wilderness and excuse me, so they can go out in the wilderness and sacrifice to their God and celebrate a festival. Just kind of like honor their religion. Not too big of an ask. So they go to Pharaoh, and this is not well received. Pharaoh's like, I don't know your God. I don't care. I don't care about this. I don't care about your God. Go back to work. You lazy slaves, go back to work. And yeah, Pharaoh's so insulted that they would dare ask for a few days off from their hard labor that he actually makes their job harder. He he makes their job twice as hard and demands the same amount of production from them. And this really makes the Israelites angry because, this you could put this on Moses. Moses got all high and mighty thinking he'd ask them for a few days off for this festival, and now he's made everybody's life way, way harder. And they're very upset. They're very upset with Moses. And they have been called lazy by the Pharaoh for and that, just get back to work harder, no big deal. You can get it done. And if you don't, that's too bad. You're going to get punished even more. And Moses feels really guilty about this. He has a head full of doubt, and he tells God, like, I think I think I'm in over my head, God. I messed this up already. We didn't even get close to leaving. But God says, since Pharaoh wouldn't even let you leave for the festival, this isn't going to get any better. you I'm just going to free all of you. I'm going to free you from slavery, free you from your oppression, and free you from this unfair mistreatment, this hard labor. We're going to leave it all behind. So, yeah, and Moses is like, well, who's going to listen to me? Like, I think I already squandered my chance. And God says, well, I don't really care. Go do it anyway. Go tell them anyway. And I'm going to send you, and you just need to go to Pharaoh and let him know what's going on. And that is where we start to get into, that's me drum rolling, the plagues. Oh, yes. The most one of the craziest parts in the Bible, I think, where we get into all the plagues. All right, so what's going on with these plagues? Well, they kind of work in two ways. First, this is also kind of how God is going to convince the Israelites that Moses is doing the right thing for them, that he's working on their side, that Moses is really speaking the word of the Lord. And two, this is how God also convinces Pharaoh of his might and power, of God's might and power, so that Pharaoh will respect God, respect the Israelites, and let them go about their business. So that's kind of like the purpose that the plagues serve. So, how many plagues are there? Well, there are 10 plagues in total, and I'll read through all of them. Just list through all of them first. You can talk about these a little more in their group. They're just really, really interesting. So first, Moses turns the Nile River into a river of blood. Then there's the plague of the frogs. The frogs like infest their homes, and then God says God that he'll remove them all, but really removing is just killing. So now there's just all these dead frogs piled up everywhere. Nasty. Really very, very smelly. The third plague is the gnats. The fourth plague is flies. The fifth plague is all of the Egyptian livestock dies. It's a lot of livestock. The sixth plague is boils, like acne or cysts or blisters on your skin. Something nasty, some nasty skin condition. Sounds very itchy. Like you wouldn't want it for picture day or something. Seventh is thunder and hail, like a massive storm that destroys a lot of crops. Eighth is locusts. And if you know anything about locusts a little bit, they're kind of just like big, gross, disgusting grasshoppers that just eat anything that they land on. They're super, super destructive. Um, very, very, very nasty plague. Good one on God. So then ninth is the plague of darkness, where like the land is so dark that they like can't even see as far away as I am to you. Like they can't even see each other in their own homes or walking around outside. So that really messes you up. Can you imagine trying to go to sleep or figuring out like where you're at in your day or trying to cook a meal when it's just like pitch black and you can hardly see your hand in front of your face? Very inconvenient. And then lastly is the plague of the angel of death, or the death of the firstborns. So I'll circle back, and I just want to talk about a few things that go on within the rest of these. So something that um, the Bible says after almost every one of these plagues is that Pharaoh's heart was hardened. And I just want to talk a little bit about like what it means that Pharaoh's heart was hardening. So they actually used to believe in ancient times that your heart is where all of your knowledge was stored instead of your brain. So when they talk about Pharaoh's heart being hardened, it doesn't mean that he's never going to love again or something like that. It just means that he's like getting really stubborn or resentful or really angry and spiteful. It's something up here. It's a thought that's happening. So like all these things happen, and Pharaoh just gets more stubborn and set in his ways and does not want to listen or acknowledge what God is doing. So that's what it means when Pharaoh's heart keeps hardening. Secondly, there's some really interesting things that keep happening to the people around Pharaoh throughout these plagues. Like after the third plague, kind of his religious advisors, they call them magicians, that can perform some of these things, I guess. Even they have to admit, like Pharaoh, the Hebrew God is this Hebrew God's up to something here. This is a big deal. You might want to listen. And Pharaoh's heart got hardened after they said that. Didn't want to admit it. And then somewhere in the middle too, his government officials were like, "How much longer are you gonna let this play out? Like this is getting really annoying. These people are being a thorn in their side. You should just go let them do their thing, and let's get this over with." And that really upset Pharaoh too. Pharaoh's heart hardened 3 times its size that day. Grinch reference. Sorry. um, but throughout this process, Pharaoh actually does a little bit of bargaining with Moses and Aaron too, unbelievably. So first he says, like, hey, I'll let you do your sacrifices, take the day off, but I'm not going to let you go anywhere. Not good enough. And later on, um, Pharaoh says, well, yeah, I'll let you go, but only the men can go. The women and the children, they have to stay. Not good enough. And then eventually Pharaoh, like, after the darkness, is like, how about I let all you go out, but you leave your livestock behind? Um, and that wasn't good enough because Moses said, you got to let us all go. Let us take our things. Let us go out into the desert. Moses he's playing hardball with Pharaoh here. And that really makes Pharaoh upset. And Pharaoh actually, a couple times through these two, says, like, hey, I'll listen if you make some of these plagues stop. He says that with the flies. He says that with the hail. After the hail destroys their crops, um, he admits that he sinned after the locusts show up, um, and all that. And he just keeps going back on his word. He's just that stubborn. He's just kind of lying to Moses in the present just to get somewhere and kind of get the problems of the day over with. So, yeah, Pharaoh's a real jerk. He's not tried to negotiate and kind of lied his way out of a few situations. Not a good guy. Shocker, I know, right? The guy that enslaves like thousands of people is not a good guy. Newsflash. So let's talk about um, the the plague of death of the firstborns, or the angel of death. So this is right after darkness, and Pharaoh is so mad at Moses. It says like his heart was as hard as it could be. And Moses goes back to him one more time. Pharaoh's like, if you keep coming back one of these days, I'm gonna lose it. I'm gonna kill you if I see you again. Like he's that mad. And God told Moses, like, this is it. This is the last plague. Pharaoh will let you go after this. The Egyptians will respect you. And Moses goes to Pharaoh's court and warns those officials that if Pharaoh does not let them go, that their firstborn sons and daughters and the firstborn of all of their what's left of their livestock, I guess their livestock had died, the firstborns will all die. I forgot to mention a lot of the problems and afflictions from these plagues was only messing with the Egyptians, and Israelites and Hebrews were completely unaffected and going about their daily lives. So that made people kind of wake up to this and made Pharaoh probably even angrier. Um, but yeah, God and Moses warn him, and what God tells Moses to tell the Israelites is that there's something special that they need to do to prevent the angel of death from taking their sons and daughters, their eldest sons and daughters. And that is painting the blood of a lamb on their doorposts and their lintel. The lintel is your doorpost that runs across the top. Fun fact for the day. And so they do as Moses has told them because, the firstborn sons and daughters, especially those firstborn sons, they mean a lot. They are the inheritors. They inherit the wealth and keep the family going. And the angel of death one night passes over the houses of the Israelites, and their sons are spared, those that painted on their doorposts, and the Egyptians, not so lucky. And oh, the Bible talks about how there was like a cries and shouts like you had never heard before, and there's the Egyptians are they're just floored. They just don't know what to do. And Pharaoh's so angry. He's like, get get out. Go to your festival. I don't I don't want to I don't want to deal with you anymore. Take your people and go immediately. So they do. They get out. And they're not necessarily sure where they're going out into the wilderness, but God, who has performed these signs and done these wonders for them and spared them their children, leads them out into the desert. Talks about God leads them by day by a cloud to cover them from the shade, very handy in the desert, and guides them at night by a pillar of fire, just right in front, taking them out. So I am is showing up for those Hebrews 24/7, really sticking to those promises. And, you know, they're heading out, they're on their way, they celebrate their festival, and God comes to Moses again and says, you know, Pharaoh's heart hardened again, and he's he's coming after you. He's gonna try and take revenge on you. Pretty he's pretty not too keen on what happened to his son. So we got to get you. I'm going to lead you to safety. You are not going back. You are going to that land of milk and honey, to Canaan, to the land that I promised to your ancestors. And I'm going to get you there, and I'm going to keep you safe. And this is the part of the story where I think we all know, where Moses parts the sea and the Israelites, they travel through the waters. Um, Pharaoh Pharaoh's chariots, his army comes after them, and God God scares them. He gets their wheels get stuck in the mud. Um, and if the Israelites cross to safety, the sea crashes over them, and that's history. None of them survive. So, whew, that was a lot, wasn't it? So, yeah, I guess what did we learn? God sticks up for God's people. God hears our cries just like God heard Hagar's cries in the desert. God heard the cries of the Israelites in slavery and used one of their own, as Moses, to advocate for their freedom and guide them out and give them hope. And God went with them too. And that's the important thing, that, it seems like God put a lot on Moses here. It's a big task. Hey, free a bunch of slaves from a very powerful empire. But Moses was never alone. It was never all up to Moses. Moses had Aaron to help him out for support, but God was always with Moses, always putting a good word in his ear, giving him instructions, giving him hope, empowering him to make decisions on behalf of the people, God was there every step of the way. And Moses definitely doubted, but God helped Moses overcome all of that. And the good news in that is that God can do that for us too. So I'll leave you with that, friends. That was definitely a lot. I hope you have some good discussion after this. So I will see you next week. Bye.